everybody, it's me. So I wanted to tell you all about my amazing home inspector. So Cory Hay with Inspectek West is here because we are actually doing a full home inspection on this wonderful house in Forest Grove. And he's going to just kind of talk to you about, what they're looking for, what they look at, the ins and the outs and everything like that. Why you do a home inspection. Is it better to do a home inspection prior to listing your house or just waiting, and is it very similar? So let's bring this on over to Cory. So Cory, tell me, how long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been doing this since '97, so about 26 years now. So
Wow.
A little while.
And you got into it with your dad because your dad was originally.
Yes, my dad started the company in '93, and then I started a few years after him. So
Perfect.
He had a few years seniority on me.
Okay, so inspections, home inspections. A lot of times buyers are like, why do we need to have a home inspection? And I always tell them, you kind of want to know what your honey-do list is. You want to know what you're getting into.
Not only that, it's your biggest investment for most people in their life, and if you don't know the condition of that, you could be putting yourself in an adverse condition later on down the line, especially if you go to sell and you didn't have an inspection or a good inspection when you bought the house. Depending on how markets changed and equity in the house, you can be in a very bad position now if you didn't properly do your due diligence in finding out the condition of the home.
Right, exactly. So then, new construction.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, and what are your thoughts on having a home inspection on a new construction?
Again, it's your investment. Just because a builder built a house and a city or local inspector went and signed off that, yeah, there's a house built at this address. Each city inspector is different in their interpretations, and code doesn't really protect a homeowner or a home buyer.
Right.
There's all sorts of different things that can go wrong that isn't necessarily covered under code. And we're not doing code inspections. That's not what a home inspection is. It's more safety, fire life safety, and just condition of certain things, not cosmetic conditions, but conditions of materials and that. We've done many of new home constructions where the house wasn't properly dried out, they insulated too soon, bunch of mold up in the attic, just underventilated, even though it met code.
Right.
Technically, functionally, it was poor in areas. So it's still very important, even along with doing other things as well. A lot of local ordinances have some radon mitigation requirement in place, and that's open to interpretation of what that actually means as well. It could just be a passive system. There could be a pipe in place, and you wouldn't know that you need to energize that pipe to evacuate the radon gas unless you tested for that. Or same with sewer. When we first started doing sewer inspections, we used to only recommend them on homes older than 20 years. And now we recommend them on every single house because we've been finding that, new construction stuff happens, lines get crossed. We've had areas where the storm was hooked up to the sewer or not connected at all, or broken lines, disconnected lines, backups, stuff down the lines, not properly prepped, big bellies in lines, 20 feet down under concrete, having to be dug up. So again, this is your investment, and you probably should find out the most you can about it with doing the different inspections.
So when you go into a home, I know, and I always tell everybody, I said, you go into the home, you start the dishwasher, you do this. So can you kind of tell everybody what exactly you're inspecting inside the home?
Inside the home, we're checking out, just running all the major appliances. We're at the sinks, running the sinks a long time, looking underneath the sinks, looking for plumbing leaks. We're going through the house, accessing, outlets that are visible and accessible. We're not moving furnishings and pulling stuff off walls and stuff like that. So it's kind of what is accessible is what we're able to visually observe and test. So we're testing outlets, testing doors, windows, checking for leaks, faulty seals. A lot of times in new construction as well, windows were dropped on site, put in, frames cracked. But you can kind of get a feel as you're going through. You'll see a lot of cracks in drywall and nail pops and stuff like that, and people get freaked out. But you just kind of need to put that all in perspective. Is there a bunch of settling going on where doors are hitting and rubbing because we've got significant settlement in one part of the house? So it's not just if they open or close, but what kind of signs are you starting to see that maybe you need to look a little bit farther in a certain area? But yeah, we're not doing a bunch of cosmetic, like comment on paint, condition of carpet. I mean, we will deterioration and stuff like that,
Right.
but a lot of times that is taken into consideration when the home buyer is purchasing the house. They've gone through the house a lot of times and have a general idea of the condition of the interior and are tailoring their offer to that.
Right.
So
Perfect. So then, your thoughts on, because we've done before, I've had you do inspections prior to going on the market, and that's because I either don't have the greatest sense that that house is going to fare well in a regular inspection
right.
afterwards, and I want to kind of head things off ahead of time. So what are your thoughts on doing a home inspection as a seller prior to going on the market?
Yeah, there's lots of reasons to do it, and that's a great reason. You're just trying to get a feel for, how am I going to price this out? What am I going to ask my seller to do? Or we're going to price it accordingly because we know there's some issues and we don't want to have to deal with them, maybe with a buyer that doesn't know yet and then discovers them, and they've already accepted a price at a certain offer, and now they're trying to get even more off instead of understanding the condition of that house. Market can also dictate when to do it, and a lot of times, especially when there was the big crash and there just wasn't a lot of buyers out there, sellers that wanted to sell, they knew they had a shot at maybe one buyer and didn't want that buyer to be scared off by something that no one knew about.
Right.
So just taking advantage of knowing the condition of the house, pricing it accordingly, so that you know what you're doing. If you're trying to get top dollar, then you want to make sure everything's in tip-top shape. You either got some newer appliances or everything's been tuned up, serviced, cleaned, and just has that feel. But if you're trying to get top dollar, or your clients are trying to get top dollar, and you present them, the condition of the house, it might help them be a little bit more reasonable in getting that price of where they're actually going to be able to sell at. So.
True. So is there something that you always see, like on a regular basis, that it's like, oh, it's, another roof or the furnace, or, is there anything that's just like keeps coming back that, sellers could be doing ahead of time?
For sure. It's always a good idea, as you talked about, the furnace. If you've got an HVAC system and you're not maintaining it, you're really not doing anyone any good when they're coming into it. It could be 15 years old and you've never had anyone come through there, clean,
Right.
service, and take care of it. It may be operating right now, but you may have done, some damage to it by not maintaining and take care of those things. So, yeah, it's always advised, getting your HVAC cleaned and serviced. It's a good idea to pop the hatch in the crawl space, during the wet months and just take a peek, see down there, see if you have any standing water. Obviously in Oregon it rains a lot, so it's not necessarily uncommon to get some dampness underneath the house, but you don't want puddles, pooling, stagnant moisture on top of that vapor barrier. Then your vapor barrier is not acting like a vapor barrier, and it creates other issues through the house with moisture. So moisture is a big thing.
Right.
In Oregon. Maintaining the exterior is very important, again, with the moisture. Caulking, painting, stuff deteriorates and rots when we don't maintain it.
Right.
So,
We have a lot of buyers that are coming up from dry states
exactly,
that they
yep.
panic when they see mold or moisture or water or anything like that.
And all those things can be taken care of. You just need to know, do we got those situations going on here or not?
And as a seller, you can almost do that ahead of time before you even...
Right. Again, knowing the condition of what you have it's important, especially if you want to maintain the value in your home and what that provides for you.
Perfect. So when somebody's looking at, home inspections, they're trying to price things out because they always ask, well, how much does this cost and how much does this cost? What is like the average? Is there an average price point for a home inspection? I know it's based off of square footage, right?
That's how we price them. Not everyone prices them how we do. We feel like we can get a pretty good idea of how much time it's going to take us based off the square footage of the house. So some people they'll also add some multiplying factors in there as far as age and stuff like that, and it does affect it. But it just, when we price out, we don't want to keep on adding more things. We want people to be able to see, hey, I can go to the website, I can look at the size of the house, I know what it's going to cost me. So,
Right.
Or people tack on mileage and stuff like that, and we don't do that. That's just never been our
So
our
on your
practice.
website, they can log on to your website and kind of get an idea of everything, what it's going to cost.
Yep.
Because most of the time, my clients just call me and I just text you.
That works too.
And then I just schedule everything and they're like, well, that was easy. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
usually it is.
Yeah, and that can all be done online too. You can book all the inspections online, all the additional services. It's pretty easy to do.
Well, I want to say thank you for everything because you are an amazing home inspector and your dad and the rest of the crew because you've got several of them. How many are you guys, how many's working for Inspectek now?
As a whole,
Yeah.
well, we've got a few different inspectors. So a couple brothers, Brian and Tyler, and then Josh. So we're all inspecting. And then Brandon does our sewer and radon, and then Justin and Jeff do our sewer inspections, and then we've got Chris who does our home energy scores.
Love Chris.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Had to do
very
him a couple times.
knowledgeable. Yeah, and then Larry doesn't do inspecting anymore, but still does kind of the niche market, the 203K rehab loans. So he's a certified HUD consultant. So he still does those, and he does the asbestos and lead testing.
Okay.
And so when you're doing remodel work and stuff like that and have to take stuff to the dump, he can test and provide chain of command on remodel stuff
Oh, good to know.
for that. And then Sherilyn does a lot of the back office stuff.
Ah.
So a few of us.
There's quite a few of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have my favorites. Everybody has their favorites to work
Right,
with.
right.
So, but thank you so much for everything that you do and the most amazing job ever. And you're so great with my sellers, or my buyers and my sellers, because there's some inspectors that will scare buyers away. They start like pricing things out and saying, well, it's going to cost this much to do this, and it's going to cost this much to do that. And I appreciate how you just talk to them and let them know what's going on, what they need to be paying attention to, and leaving it at that. So.
Yeah, I mean, we feel like our job is to inform, and sometimes there are some hard conversations they need to be had. But a lot of times things can be fixed too, and we don't know what someone's paying for a house, so they could be getting a heck of a deal, and a $20,000 roof isn't a big deal because they've chopped so much off that that's not even a concern for them. Where stuff can get blown out, and there is a little bit of that male bravado in the industry, kind of, hey, look at me, look what I found. It's out there.
Yeah.
So
I've seen them.
yeah.
There's been some that were called the deal killers.
Yeah. And we're
And
called
we
that as well plenty of times. So, we believe our, responsibility is to the client. So
Yeah.
if we're having those conversations, we've been through a lot of houses, we can help put things in perspective, what we've seen, because these aren't black and white. I mean, there's a lot of gray and in between, and what are you comparing it to, and relatively speaking, and prices and all those things. There's a lot of different factors that go into place, and as long as the buyers are aware of those things and also aware of the conditions, it helps them make those kind of decisions. We're not the people that should be making those decisions for them. We should be informing them, arm them with information, and then they can go to you and you help negotiate those things if you think it's still in their best interest.
Right.
And that's what we love about you as well. You are looking out for your client. You want their best interest because you want their repeat business as well. Right. And if you just try, and we've had agents that just, it doesn't matter what you say and what you tell your client, they're going to get this client in that house regardless of what it takes. So yeah, so there is that out there. So
There's been
we
a couple of
appreciate
them.
good agents that we know are acting in good interest, and those are usually the ones that we have great relationships with, and they call us back, and yeah. So.
I have no problem walking away from one. I've
Yep.
done my fair share.
Yes, you have.
Let's just walk away from this. This is going to be a big can of worms.
For sure.
Thank you so much for everything. And that is it. So you will see some photos as he gets into his little suits. I will be taking little photos and posting them as long on this video as well. So thank you.
All right, thanks.